Hey, this is Seth from No Code MBA. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the API reference of OpenAI, talk about the different endpoints that they offer, so the different functionality that you can build using OpenAI's API, and I'm going to talk about which ones that I would recommend for different use cases that you want to build. If you want to learn more about actually integrating these endpoints into your own app, even if you don't know how to code, check out the link in our description to go to No Code MBA's Building Apps with AI course, where we talk about how to connect these AI endpoints to a Bubble app. Bubble is a no-code app platform, and I'll go step by step through each tutorial. So even if you've never used Bubble before, or you've never even built a website before, you will be able to connect these AI endpoints and build AI apps such as text or image generation apps using the tutorials. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about these endpoints here in OpenAI's API documentation. So the first endpoint that they have is an audio endpoint. What this allows you to do is send an audio file to OpenAI, and what they're going to do is use AI to send back a text as a response. And you can do this both by sending an audio file and getting a transcription. So it's going to just send the text back from your file in the same language that you sent it in. But there's also the ability to send an audio file and get a translation back. So you can translate other languages right now into English. You can't do different languages right now. You can only translate audio into English. But those are the two endpoints right now that OpenAI has for audio. So next we have the chat endpoint, and this enables something that you might be familiar with ChatGPT, where you're able to essentially send a message or a list of messages, and you're going to get one response back. What's really nice about this endpoint is it allows you to kind of send a list of messages and have that context in your list of messages, and then get a response back that takes all of the messages into account, not just one message. So again, if you've used ChatGPT before, you know exactly what I mean. And if you think about it, what OpenAI is doing is essentially using this API internally to build ChatGPT. So if you're using ChatGPT, you are using this endpoint. If you want to build your own version of ChatGPT, we have a tutorial for that. Make sure to check the link in your description. Okay, next we have the completions endpoint, and I'm going to skip over this because they're actually depreciating this endpoint. But what this did was essentially have one message as the input, and then the output would be one message. But it wouldn't be able to take in the list of chats the way that the chat endpoint does. So this is being depreciated, so I'm not going to talk too much about this. Okay, next is embeddings. So I'm not going to go into embeddings in this video because it's a little more technical and it's going to take more time. But if you check the link right here, and I'm also going to put it in the description, there's an entire video that I've created which talks about how embeddings work in a lot more detail. So I definitely recommend checking out that video if you're interested in learning more about embeddings. Okay, fine-tuning. This is really helpful because it allows you to tailor a model to your specific training data. So let's say you want to fine-tune a model on how to give feedback to essays. So you upload an essay that someone has written and you want it to give feedback. So one reason that you might want to fine-tune models is that to get a really good response, you might need to use GPT-4, which is the more powerful and more expensive model. And if you use GPT-3, you might not get a good response. But if you fine-tune GPT-3 on a list of responses, so you would have inputs and outputs that are good examples of what you would want the model to respond with, it's going to learn from that, and then you could use your fine-tuned model, which is going to be less expensive and also quicker to run, instead of using the more expensive GPT-4 model. So that's just one example of why you might want to fine-tune a model. And if you want to learn more about fine-tuning, again, our Building Apps with AI course goes into more detail, so check out the link in our description. Files, this is just a quick endpoint here that allows you to upload files into your OpenAI account, and that can be used to do things like fine-tune a model. So that's something that I'm not going to spend too much time on as well. Next, we have the images endpoint, and this is really cool. This allows you to have the input of text and have the output be an image. So this is similar to Stable Diffusion, but the model here for OpenAI is DALL-E. That's something you may have heard of as well. This is really cool, and again, if you want to learn how to use this endpoint, be sure to check out the link in our description to go to our full course. This models endpoint, so this endpoint is just going to send you back a list of all the models that are available in OpenAI. So there's not a lot that you can do with this. It's more about just showing you what models are available. And then finally, we have the moderations API. Again, I talk about how to use this API as well in our full course. But this moderations API allows you to essentially send in some text, and then you're going to get an output, which is going to classify it as potentially violating OpenAI's content policy. And it's going to also flag it and tell you what specific category is flagging that for the content moderation. So this is important. First, if you are using OpenAI's API and you're using it in a public app, you would want to build this in so that you are complying with OpenAI's terms and services and not using AI for anything that violates its policies. And it can also be used for things like moderating a forum that you've built or something like that, where you want to moderate responses and make sure that there isn't anything that should be flagged. So this is a really helpful endpoint as well. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something and it was helpful. Again, if you want to learn how to implement these AI API endpoints into your own apps, check out our Building Apps with AI course, our no-code MBA. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get future content and be notified, and leave a comment below if you have any questions at all. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.